this. So this one says a critic has prepared a review of exactly 6 music CDs, H, I, N, Q, R, S, and G. And or it sounds good 1 or it sounds good 2. Sorry, 1, 2. There's no comma, so it's 1 CD. So what I do is automatically whenever I see my variables, I write them down just because I'm a nervous person. And I like to put my pen on paper as soon as possible. So I'm just going to write down what these are, even though I don't even know what I'm doing with them yet. And each CD received a rating of either 1, 2, 3, or 4 stars, with each CD receiving exactly 1 rating. Okay, so each one of these is going to be 1, 2, 3, or 4. Each one's going to get 1. I always like to know, I always like ones where everybody's being used. I don't like games that like they could be used or not be used. I think those are always more challenging. Although the ratings were meant to be kept secret until the review was published, the following facts have been leaked to the public. Okay, so for each, so then I would go into my rules now, and I've already determined that what are we trying to do here? Like, what is the goal of this game?
Basically it's to assign CDs to different star ratings.
Excellent. And so already I'm kind of like, I don't know, I'm going to read the rules before I determine how I want to set it up. I don't know if I want to like match them here like this, or do I want to put like 1, 2, 3, and 4 across and then put like which one it is underneath it? I don't know yet, but I'm going to be open to either one. I'm very much the type of person where instead of having like, oh, I have to fit everything into this perfect diagram, I would rather like know like, hey, I would rather talk about my potential options and then pick which one is going to work best for that scenario. And who cares if it's not perfect? All right, so one says for each of the ratings, at least 1, but no more than 2 of the CDs receive that rating. Okay, so I think after this first rule, I think I like this better. Like rather than like using this as my base, because for each one there's going to be at least 1 and no more than 2. So that's really helpful because I can go through and literally draw 1 out on each spot. So I only have 2 lines left, which I don't know where they go. Are you following so far? Is this what you would do?
I watched the 7 stage video, so like I have in my mind like what the guy did on the video. So from that, like I would have done I didn't do this when I first did the game, but I would do 2 rows of lines, like 2 rows of 4 spaces, since it says no more than 2. So like if you already have your 2 there. So
Oh, right. So I put them over here because I like to know like, okay, there's at least 1. These are guaranteed, but the other ones aren't guaranteed.
Yeah.
But I could see that too. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
All right. H received exactly 1 more star than N did. Oh, now I see where the ordering comes in. I'm like, why is this even labeled in ordering? Okay, so H received exactly 1 more star than N. So how would you diagram rule number 2?
I think I did this one kind of confusing, but I did H equals N plus 1.
Yes, very confusing. So if H received exactly 1 more star than N, when we go up here, if N got a 2, what did H get?
Yeah, so you can do NH and put a box around it.
Yes, excellent. Because that's where we wanted to be more like deeper, think deeper about, like you drew out the rule specifically, like what does that rule mean?
Math equation.
But then think about like in terms like what does that rule mean in terms of our diagram? Like what does +1 actually mean? Excellent.
Gotcha.
All right, 3 says either H or R received the same number of stars as I did. All right, how would you diagram this one?
HI with a box around it, or RI.
Yeah, so either H or R receive the same number of stars as, okay, so I think I would draw this as like I for sure is with somebody else. And that somebody else is either H or R.
Okay.
That's what I would do, I think.
Gotcha.
And then what I should have said earlier is every time I use a variable from a rule, I put a dot under it. Just so like it's easier for me to find the floaters at the end. And then I also note whenever I use do a new rule, is, oh, I have H twice. So that's like a really constrained variable.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Hmm.
All right. And then at most, one CD received more stars than Q did. All right. So what does that rule mean?
Means only one thing can go after Q.
At most, yes.
At most.
So
Yeah.
that's where I would create worlds for the scenario.
And Q can't be in 1 or 2, so it has to be in 3 or 4.
Yeah, so I would make one where Q is in 3 and one where Q is in 4. And then I would cross Q off. And then our floater is S. So I want to look here and think I has to be with H or R. That doesn't really do anything for me. Oh, okay. Sorry, I got excited. So let's look at this rule. Let's look at world number 1 for a second. Where could
And an H go?
yeah, I was gonna ask that, but that doesn't really.
Yeah, because there could be 2.
So where can, in world number 1, who can not go in 4?
And an H.
And H can't?
Yeah, because then there would be 2 greater than Q.
But N goes before H, right? So these like N would be in 3 and 4 would be in H.
Oh, true.
You're
Okay.
on the right track though.
What can't go after Q? Oh, I.
Yes. Because someone else would have to go with it. So we know that this isn't I. Excellent. All right. So from here, unfortunately, this isn't a great one to learn worlds on because there's not a whole bunch that we can figure out. But from here, I would go into the questions. So I'll go ahead and copy those over. Is that what you would do? Would you go into the questions from here?
Yeah.
Okay.
So no more than 2 of the cities receive the same rating. Wait, yeah, no more than 2. Okay.
And at least, and all of them have, so like each of the ratings, at least one. So I would probably check first. So I'm like, okay, they have to be at least one, no more than 2.
Okay. I think all of them check off.
I think so. I'm looking at 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2. Yep. All right. So let's go on to the second rule.
Okay. So in H. So D is out.
Yep. Excellent.
And no, E is good. Okay. Next. So IF or IH or IR. Yeah. Okay, so C is out.
Excellent.
Okay. And then the Q thing. So no more than 1 after Q. So B is out.
Excellent.
And E is out.
Fabulous. All right. So then after I do the typical first question, I do the if questions next. Do you do that? So like, for example, let me copy the rest of these questions over. Like some questions start with if and some start with like what or which.
You do the if ones.
I do the if first
questions first
because they're easier. And
okay.
they let you kind of like what you said earlier about, I'm sure like your previous tutor had you doing like creating some certain scenarios before you go into it so that you got like a feel of how the worlds work or the rules work to each other. I like to just use the if questions to do that. So but this one's nice where like the first ones are all, the first one is an if. So go ahead. How would you approach number 7?
Okay. So from 6, I would go ahead and write down. Do you do this like write down the right answer from 6 just so you have it for the next questions?
You could if you wanted, yeah. Like I wouldn't be against that. Actually, I think I would. So so it's I'll write it down for you while you go on to
Okay.
7.
So headstrong is
and then do you circle it when something works? Do you circle it?
No, I just write it out. If something doesn't work, I'll just put a line through it. It's like,
okay, because like sometimes I don't like, okay, I like to circle the ones that work and leave the ones that don't, because like sometimes like if something doesn't work, I want to leave it to reference, like, oh, this, even though it didn't work.
yeah, like I'll write a line through it so that I can still see
So
it.
see it, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
But I like, so I circle the ones that like when something works, I circle it.
Okay. Okay, so if I struggle something, see that if you're rating 2 stars, then it must be true. Okay, so I would put H where 2 is, and like, I don't know, draw some kind of line to show that it's the only 1 and 2.
Yep.
And then like try to fit everything else in. So like for the first, it says which one must be true. So I've just find which one works with both worlds.
Okay, so let's, yes, but first, like, okay, so if H is in 2, what else do we know?
N is right before it.
Excellent. Can we figure anything else out?
Yeah, I is gonna go with R.
Yes. And so what world are we looking at then?
The second world.
Excellent. And then who do we not have figured out?
S, but it can go anywhere.
Yep.
Anywhere but
or 1 and 4. Yep, but perfect. Yeah. So must be true. Okay, so
in fires during 3 stars. Yeah. A is, I think A is right, but we can should I keep going?
A too. Let's keep going.
Okay. Neither C rating with 3 stars. B is wrong.
Yep.
C is wrong. D is wrong. And E is wrong because S can go in 2 different places.
Excellent. It doesn't have to be true. Fabulous. All right, so let's look at number 8.
Okay. You receive the same rating as down, which I find must be true. Okay, so you know that I is going to go with H because R is going with S.
Yeah, so here I come over here and I draw like RS, like kind of like a thing. And then we know I and H are going together. Great. So then where does I have to go then?
So you can either put it in 2 or 3.
Yep. So if R receives the same rating as sounds good, too much of the volume must be true. Okay, so let's look at world 1 first. Where does H have to go in world 1?
Wait, it doesn't work in world 1, right?
I think we can put, I'm thinking we could put N here, I, H, and then RS at the end.
But then that would be 2 more than Q, right?
Excellent. Yeah, look at you go. Actually, that's a really good point. I should put an X here on my diagram. So I know nothing else can go there. That's my bad.
Well, one thing can go there, but
yeah,
that's a hard rule to like show on your diagram.
So there we go. So I'm going to do that. And that can't be I. So we are for sure looking at world number 2. So that's nice.
Okay, so yeah, I can go either in 2 or 3. Um,
So what I would do here is like I would draw like, okay, so we could have I and H here, right?
mhm,
And if I and H go here, where N goes here,
mhm.
and
And then
then
R
or
and
I
S.
and H can go here.
Mhm,
If that happens, N goes here.
mhm. And then R and S will be on the first one. Oh, but I mean,
But we already figured it
okay,
out,
it's
right?
D. So yeah, okay.
So whenever that
You didn't have to
happens,
do all that.
yep. So whenever that happens, when I start putting it in, well, one, when I see that it, like the first world didn't work, I want
Mhm.
to look at what the second world had to offer. And when
Yeah,
I see this Q is the only thing that like really I can determine, I want to look down and see if that's an answer
yeah,
choice before I plug it in.
yeah.
So that'll save a lot of time. All right. And then what about 3 or 9? Sorry.
If Nice and Reunion each received a rating of 1 star, then we should like so we can put N and R in 1. And then H will be in 2. Um, oh, I has to go with H. And then you have S left.
Where's S gonna go?
And 4 in the first one and then S in the third one.
Excellent. All right.
Okay, so which one could be true?
So what letter are we
E.
probably yeah, what letter are we probably looking for? S, right? Because it's
Yeah,
the
it's
only
because
one.
it's even.
S or Q would be the one that we're looking for, and S is the only one that has a. So yeah, yep, E. All right, so then here is where I would skip 10 and go on to 11.
Okay. So if you were actually doing this game, when you do your questions, do you work on the main diagram or do you write out?
I would rewrite it. So,
Okay,
for
I'm just
example,
making sure.
since this world isn't that great,
Mhm,
I probably wouldn't be doing it twice because just of how my experience level, I would reference it, but I would create one new one and then like and be like looking at my world to see like how I could fill it in type of
mhm.
thing rather than making it twice each time.
Yeah. Okay, I was just making sure.
Yeah, no, I'm just doing it for yeah, this case.
Mhm. Okay, so if reunion is the only city that received a rating of 1 star, so I could put R with an X under it. Then which one of the following could be true?
So like this
Okay.
is where like I would draw a new one and I would do
Mhm.
this.
Okay.
And then I would look at my world to be like, okay, what's happening so far? So
Got
what
you.
do we automatically know?
Got you. So I has to go with H. So N would go into I and H would go in 3, and then Q would be 4.
Yeah, because I would be like, okay, we have to use world 2.
Yeah, 2.
Excellent. And then what would be our answer?
Which is like could be true. Oh. Okay. Oh, we forgot about S. So I guess S it would be E
Yep,
because S
S
could
could go
be.
in 2 or 4. Excellent. All right, and then now I would go back up to 10.
Oh, which one can't be true? Um. Yeah, with these, I really just end up unless like I find a clue from one of the like
Yeah. So
things
I
I've already written out.
yeah. So I think about these. I think about these logically before I choose which one I'm going to test on.
Hmm.
So Q is the only CD that received a rating of 3 stars. Um, I think about what are my rules of Q, and so I know that Q can't have 2 afterwards. So if that were true, it would have to this is just my thought process, and it's okay if you're not quite there yet, where I'm thinking, okay, that would make that both of these have 2. I don't really see an issue with that. Like, I'm like, couldn't that be like N and S and I and R, Q, whatever? So I would probably skip over this one and not test it.
Okay.
Personally, I mean, it might end up being the right answer, but I'm not feeling it. Like, I don't see any reason why it wouldn't work. So I'm not going to waste my time to test it, but I'm not going to cross it off. And the last one I know works, right? Q is the only one that has the last thing. So I'm going to cross B off.
Okay.
Because that one's really easy. C, R is the only CD that received a rating of 1 star. So could R
We
be
just tested that.
Yeah, so we can cross that off. R is the only CD that received a 2-star rating. That one I'm curious about.
Yeah, because of the NH and I thing.
Yes. And then R is the only one that received of a 3-star. I think I would test D before E.
Okay.
Because of the NH has to be next to each other. And I has to be, So, so R is the only one that received a 2-star. So we put this in here. It would go here. There's nowhere for N and H to go.
Yeah.
In either of them.
Okay.
Or could we go NH here? Well, we could do that, but then it doesn't work because we can't have
I and H.
I and H, yeah. Fabulous. All right. And then which of the following cannot receive 4 stars? Is there one off the top of your head that you know like cannot be last?
N.
N. But then I look at it, I'm like, wait, that's not an answer. And I'm like, that's not fair. So what else do you think cannot be last? Or what do you know could be last?
Q.
Yep. So I would look, okay, Q I can cross off. Is there any others that you know for sure can be last? I'm thinking we know S, so I would cross Q and S off right away.
Okay.
And now I would be like, okay, so what else can be last? And you're okay, and then I can what?
It depends on what thing I is with. So
yes, so then which one cannot be last? Because how many can go after Q?
only one. Oh, I can't be last.
Yes. So they're really making sure that you understand that rule, and that's why it's B.
But still, you don't know H or R because it depends on which one's with I.
Yeah, so they could go last. Right? Like we could have H here, we could have N here, we could have I and R, and then S. So H could go last. Or we could do 1, 2, 3, 4. Q would have to be here. We could have R last, but that would just mean that it goes N, H, I.
Okay, that doesn't help.
What?
Wait, so that means they both can go last.
Yeah, because this question is asking what cannot be last. So R and H both can be last, so we can cross them off. I cannot go last.
Oh, okay.
I think you got it. Like, I think you forgot that it was a cannot question.
Yeah, okay.
So we would cross both of those off.
Okay. Gotcha.
Perfect.